I'm your host, Nigel Catt, and today on the Priority Lane podcast, I'm joined by Nicola Beswick, Chair of the Pro Bono Financial Advice Network, or PFAN, and founder of White Rabbit Advisory. Through PFAN, Nicola is helping connect Australians facing serious illness, disability and financial hardship with life-changing pro bono financial advice, shining a light on the power of financial guidance when people need it most. Welcome to the podcast, Nicola.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No problems at all. And how's your day been going today?
Normal end of financial year lead up where everything's crazy, but it's a nice, I think, sunny day in Melbourne. Haven't been outside yet, so far so good.
Very good, very good. And did you get belted by budget questions and the rest? Or
Yes, I think it's been the perfect storm. We've had budget questions and also what's happening in markets. So, if it rains, it pours kind of thing at the moment in financial planning world, I think.
well, now you can run away from all of that for half an hour or so and have a chat with us.
100%. I look forward to talking more about the great things that we can do rather than all the other kind of stuff, the noise that's going on.
Yes, exactly. Now, our last guest, who you know, Kira Sharrock, on the podcast, she mentioned PFAN and the great work that PFAN does. And so afterwards, I was chatting to her and she connected us
Yes.
because, I think it's a great initiative and I want to make people aware of the great work that you do.
Great. Thank you. Looking forward to talking about it. It's
Mm.
a real passion, I think, for myself and the board and then everyone that's part of it. Like Kira would have shown when you spoke to her in terms of what we do. So excited about that.
Okay, great. Now, but before we get into that, just want to have a chat about your background because that's quite interesting as well. We had a chat before, and you actually started off in the legal profession. Is that right?
Yes. So that's correct. I moved from being in intellectual property law to financial planning. And before that, I actually studied science. So I look at it as changing careers 3 times,
Okay.
going from science to law to financial planning. And I think they all kind of tie in together as somewhat, but definitely where I've landed now is me in terms of what I do and the work I do.
So third time lucky. Um,
100%, right.
so science first. So what did you get involved with there? You finished
Ah,
your degree or?
yes. So I was a bit of a science nerd through school.
Okay.
Really
Any
enjoyed
particular branch?
biology.
Okay.
So I really focused on. It really started from the whole science fair kind of side that you do as a throughout high school, and I just really enjoyed that. And I think sometimes when you finish high school and you go, okay, what am I going to do at university? If you don't really know what you're going to do, you kind of pick what you're interested in. So
Hmm.
I chose science, specializing in genetics, and ended up with a master's in genetics. So from there, I kind of went, okay, that's great. I've got this qualification. What am I going to do with it now? Uh,
Become a lawyer.
Become a lawyer, right? It makes sense. And so really it was, I didn't want to sit in the lab. Doing lab work really didn't appeal to me. I didn't want to become a teacher because my mum used to always tell me that I'd make a really good teacher. So I was like, well, I can't have that. And then started exploring other things. So I looked at moving into genetic counselling. And then intellectual property law came up, and particularly with IP law, you'll find a lot of people that specialize in that area have some kind of technical background. They don't
Right.
necessarily set out to learn law. They set out to learn how to do certain things like engineering, computer science, all of those kind of things. And the theory is you can teach the scientist the law, but you can't teach the lawyer the science. And so with
Right.
yes, and so with
Okay.
particularly patent applications protecting new inventions, it's all about understanding what someone's developed. How is that different to what exists? And then how do you put that into words to be able to protect it? So it's really quite interesting. And I, because of my science background, took that step into moving into that specific legal field, and then worked in that space for about just under 10 years.
Okay.
And between the time of me changing careers into financial planning, the catalyst really was my dad being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So he um, was one of these people that just found out, like many people do, that something's there. And when he wasn't able to work or was looking at what he did with work, had an income protection policy. So for him, having that IP policy, I can't remember what I said, whether it was there are too many IPs, right? The income protection policy that covered him for the next 10 years of his working life. So he was able to stop work and then focus on his health.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we know the benefit of being able to have the ability from a financial perspective to make that choice.
Yeah.
So with that kind of happening in the background, I went, I've got to learn about money.
Mm-hmm.
I think many people don't learn about finances when they're growing up, or there's one of those really kind of either you have big conversations or you don't. But I started going, I need to learn about how to look after myself, how to, protect myself financially, not only myself, but my partner. And then I just started, like self-confessed geek that I am, started learning about money and how that all worked. And the more I learned, the more I just went, there's this big world out there that people just don't know about. They don't know anything. The small things like contributing extra into superannuation and what that can make in terms of a difference, all of those little bits and pieces. And so one day, all over a few weeks, Mark, my partner, politely said, I think you're in the wrong job. And, and we talked about the idea of me finishing up at law and going into financial planning. And he was, as he is, quite supportive of many things that I do. We decided to make that change, and here I am, however many years later, running my own business through White Rabbit Advisory and absolutely loving it.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Quite a journey. So, I just found it quite interesting that you were studying science,
Yeah.
co- genetics, but couldn't see yourself in a lab or teaching.
Yes.
Were there other options? What were the other options? What, out in the field or something? Is there much other scope?
Not well, I didn't think so.
Oh,
And so that's where it was, well, what else can I do? What can I do to use that expertise? And so that's
yeah.
how moving into law worked, just
Yeah.
being able to go, okay, I can do that, and use some of the skills that I've learned, but not ended up just sitting in an office all day like I do now. but, um, but it was, I know, as I'm talking about it, it's like, how ironic is that? I'm like still doing lab
I
work.
can I can sense a career change coming on.
Yes. It's like, okay, no, yeah. Maybe it's number 4 coming up soon. Yeah.
So, okay, so you got into finance, and then you established White Rabbit. Oh, PFAN came first, and
Ah,
then White Rabbit.
So when I moved into financial planning, oh gosh, that would have been, it was over 10 years ago, and I decided to apply for a couple of roles to try and get in and have that experience. So rather
Hmm.
than jumping in, not knowing anything about financial planning, looked for some roles. So about 400 job applications later, and I'm not joking because
Oh, wow.
I counted and kept every single cover letter I sent. I finally got a role as a paraplanner,
Yep.
with a small business in Armadale, Melbourne. So a really beautiful guy took a chance on me, so to speak, and could see the skills that I already had complementing the job. And that was the beginning. I was in that business for 18 months or so before the business was sold, and then moved to one practice and then to another practice. So kind of moved twice and then set up my own firm. So getting that experience and broader overview of clients and what you could do really is how I ended up setting up the focus of that we have at White Rabbit in terms of the clients we help and how
Right.
we position ourselves.
Okay.
Um, when I was in one of those roles, I learned about PFAN from a friend who also has MS, and so
Hmm.
she was telling me about the organisation and what they do. She was a financial counsellor at that time,
Hmm.
and so I stalked them, reached out to a couple of the board members, and then got the opportunity to help work with the MS cohort here in Victoria. And so then what happened is after that, got offered a position as a board member with PFAN.
Hmm.
And then when that current chair stepped down, they all nominated me, without me knowing to step in as the role of chair, and that
There we
was
go.
there we go. So that's how I ended up. Is I think I've been chair for about 6 years now,
Okay.
and in the middle of that, also then starting White Rabbit as well. So, um, I'm very lucky in that I have a lot of support, which is why it sounds like I can do a lot, but I don't do everything, which is probably a big take out of that.
Yeah. So what's the core need or the core service that PFAN provides? Is there like a typical client or what's yeah, what's the core service that PFAN provides?
So what we do is we really connect people that have gone through illness or injury and can't afford advice with advisors willing to give back through advice. Now,
Mm.
that statement in itself means there would be so many people out there that would be able to qualify,
Yeah.
because if you think about everything that's going on in the world today, inflation, all of those kind of things. What we do is we really work with specific charities or
Okay.
people with specific illnesses.
Right.
And we do that because we didn't want to overload the advisors, particularly the advisors that are part of the network. If you could imagine, we're all busy and ourselves normally, so we
Yeah.
had to scale it somehow, and so we work with the multiple sclerosis community. Uh,
Hmm.
see the connection now as to how I got involved with Dad, um, and also MND, so motor neuron disease, and pancreas, so pancreatic cancer, and so forth. So
Right.
what we do is we really help people that have been impacted by one of those three illnesses and then match them up with advisors within our group.
Okay. Okay. So from a client perspective, let's say I'm facing a difficult time in life via one of those illnesses. and I need assistance. What do I do? What's the process of approaching you guys?
So what we do is we have a central email contact that
Hmm.
we ask people to connect with us. And what we do firstly is make sure that they really qualify for free advice,
Yep.
essentially. So what we're trying to do is make sure that people do come through one of those three illnesses. As much as I would love to help everyone that is sick, we have to be careful.
Yep.
But what we then do is ask a few simple questions around people's financial capacity. So a bit like Centrelink, anyone that's tried to navigate Centrelink and
Mhm.
work out, what income people have, what assets they have. It's very similar kind of um, not as detailed process, I would say. It's just a 2 pages we ask rather than 50.
Yep.
And then we really make a judgment call based on that as to whether we think someone genuinely can't afford advice. What we're trying to do really is there's a lot of people out there who say, for example, MS, may have MS, but I've seen people with $1 million, $2 million come through and say, "Hey, I've got MS. Can I get some free advice?" And I'm going, "Well, we're looking for the people that don't have that amount of money, really."
Yep.
So yes.
Yep. Okay. And are there parameters around the service you provide each client?
Uh,
I guess in terms of time or scope of service?
so what we do is we're essentially a matchmaking facility.
Right.
We receive these client inquiries from these people, and then what we do is we go to our advisor register. So we have licensed advisors who have opted into giving back through our channels.
Hmm.
These are people that are run a whole range of scope, whether they're employed, self-employed, advisors throughout Australia. They're on our register, and when we get someone come in, we go to a select cohort on that register of
Right.
advisors, and then we say, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones have come through to us. They're going through this situation. They have this financial capacity. They want advice on, say, applying for the disability support pension, and maybe a quick review of their super." We take that cohort, take that kind of general information out to the advisors and say, "Hey, who's got capacity to talk to these people that had come through to us?" So
Right.
when
Okay.
the advisors, we try and also narrow it by location as well, because sometimes it's nicer to meet people in person or at least have that kind of connection. So once that matchmaking is kind of done, we then step away and let the advisor and the client talk to each other like a normal relationship would be with any other client seeking advice.
Okay. Okay. So you get them in, filter them, uh, summarize their needs, and then put it out to appropriate people on your network.
Correct. That's
Right.
exactly it.
Okay. Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, we don't provide the advice as such.
Hmm.
We just connect people with each other, and all the advisors on our register have self-selected in.
Yep.
So they're the people that have gone, "Yes, I really want to do this." We have people that take on one case a year, and that's all we ask for is um, ad- advisors to at least help one person a year.
Yep.
But we do have advisors that say yes to many more than that, and we don't want to ask people to do more than just one, particularly because I know how the constraints around what you have to do going through that process as well.
Yep. So when the client comes on board, is there a set kind of like finish line for them? Otherwise, it could go on forever. Is there a set, okay, this is what we're going to achieve and then job's done?
Pretty much. So
Right.
we ask advisors to at least give an hour of their time, go through the general advice piece. If
Hmm.
there is personalised advice needed, so going through the whole fact finding statement of advice position, we do expect that to be at no cost to the client. And so practices absorb that cost. I appreciate that, running my own practice, what that means.
Yeah.
Um, but from an ongoing advice perspective, we don't expect advisors to take on clients on an ongoing basis at no cost.
Right.
Really,
Yeah.
the finishing point is that initial start to finish piece rather than the ongoing throughout a client's lifetime, because that could just be quite a substantial out-of-pocket cost. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
short little,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I guess you're dealing with people, and the advisors are dealing with people at a very vulnerable time. They're under a lot of pressure, probably
yeah.
a lot of unknowns. Little barriers can seem like ginormous barriers. How does that change, or how do you? Is there a way that you engage with clients in this particular manner, as opposed to, say, a normal paying client? Are there different considerations or different ways you have to manage that relationship?
So good question, actually. Very good question. We have been collectively as a board talking about how we support our advisors in that position, particularly like you just highlighted. These people coming to us are vulnerable,
Mhm.
not necessarily vulnerable in the true sense of the words, but vulnerable in that they've got so many things going on that they just have all this emotion that they just don't know how to process.
Yeah.
And so we are in the stages of developing some type of supporting um, material education sessions for advisors to be able to have a little bit more guidance around
Okay.
what to expect. But then also, I think the clients that do come through us are generally referred through social workers. So they do have that support already from that type of
Right.
perspective. Um, because of the illnesses we work with, we've naturally ended up being part of the um, bodies around those illnesses. So if I use multiple sclerosis as an example, MS has a different each state has a different, service provider. Here in Victoria, it's called MS Plus.
Mhm.
Queensland's MS Queensland, and every state has that kind of organisation. So we have spent a bit of time engaging the social workers within each of those, um, organisations, so they understand what advisors can do, what help we can support their clients with, and then
Okay.
generally we see the people that are referred to us or know of us have come through those channels. So
Okay.
yeah, so the supporting the advisors from managing vulnerable clients is there not necessarily just from us as a organization, but then also because of the support from the wider community that that particular client is getting.
Yeah, okay, okay. So it's kinda like a PFAN helping out, and training the providers as well as other way around. So it's more of a seamless transition from one to the other.
Correct, correct.
Beautiful.
And if you think about, no, not everyone understands what financial advisors do, right? We
Mm.
all know what we do, but the everyday person doesn't necessarily know what we do. And so we've really found that that education piece in those key organisations is really, really critical to being able to get people to reach out and go, I know I can get answers to my Centrelink question here, or answers to my superannuation questions here. So it's been really good. And the social workers, when they um, see it and they understand it, particularly from the clients that they've followed the journey with, it's just remarkable in terms of the support that they've given us as well.
Yeah, great. Okay. Okay. Now, from the advisor side, so if an advisor wants to contribute, how does that process work? Is there a screening process, or how? If I'm an advisor and I want to contribute, what would be the process?
So everyone likes questionnaires, right? So we have a questionnaire that we ask advisors to fill out. It's
Uh-huh.
really around contact details, licensee details. Has your licensee signed off on this? Because obviously, if someone's going to be providing advice in any kind of capacity, it's on part of that obligation process with licensee. What areas of financial advice do you want to provide advice in rather than not? So
Hmm.
some people, we've got a few insurance only advisors. We've got some people that don't want to talk about Centrelink. So they make a note on that form, and then um, we record that at our end. We also make sure that we do our little checks like, is everyone registered on the FAR? Ringing up the licensees going, tell me about this person, just doing those natural
Right.
um, aspects of checking that an advisor is who they say and they genuinely want to give back.
Okay.
And then once we have that all checked off, we put someone on our database, and then as someone comes through from a client perspective, we just put that call out. And if you fit that criteria from an advisor perspective, you'll be part of that
Okay.
group.
And so the licensee has to sign off. The firm owner, if there is a firm owner as well, I guess they have
Yep.
to agree as well. And how do you get the word out there to find advisors?
It's basically coming and talking to people like you, right?
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and spreading the word. But we also have a really great network of professionals behind us. We've got a number of really key organisations like Hub24, TEL, who have been with us for a long time in terms of helping us market to advisors through social media channels. Connects us, particularly through Professional Planner, are really big on supporting us through doing articles to the wider advice profession around some of the good news stories that we've had coming across.
Mhm.
So it's really just going out and building awareness through those channels. We are at conferences like the FAAA Congress. Um, they're pretty great at giving us a little bit of space at all the conferences so we can talk to advisors as they come by. And then also we're on their website as well, in
Okay.
terms of any members that want to look up and being able to join us. So it's really just building up, like any kind of natural thing, is just building up
Getting the
to
word out there.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, okay.
and it's been really great. The feedback and the uptake from an advisor perspective in terms of people wanting to volunteer has just been remarkable. I think this is the really biggest thing is there's this really great cohort of advisors out there that do want to give back their skills because they can and not be financially remunerated for it. And I think that's incredible, not only for us to highlight from a professional capacity, but then also see that from a client lens that there are these really great people out there just wanting to help.
Yeah, and that's we touched on that last episode with Kira.
Mm.
She's very big on giving back.
Yes.
And speaking to a number of advisors, as I have lately, is there seems to be that yeah sense of giving back to the community, giving back, wanting to help, which is sort of at odds with how the wider financial industry is perceived, I'd say.
100%. It's a shame, isn't it? Because I all the advisors I know all want to give back. They all want to give back using their skills in some shape or form. And I think that's just amazing. That needs to an amazing thing that we really need to showcase and highlight. Because if you think about what is talked about generally is all the bad news stuff. And
Mm.
99% of people are great people just wanting to help. And yeah, we're just got to be able to break through that a little bit and show that we're all here to help support people. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah,
because the other perception is that you need to be wealthy before you get a financial advisor.
100%. That's exactly right. And it's then becomes that real definition of what does wealthy mean. And like I can go down this rabbit hole for a long time, right? Because I think about some of the people I see in my practice, and it's not necessarily about the dollar value, but the thing that they're going through and making sure they're making smart decisions. That's probably more worthwhile from a financial cost perspective, as opposed to going, I need to wait until I've got this.
Yeah,
So it's an interesting, I think, perception that's out there. And I think this is why talking about when advisors can help someone is more important than talking about really just making money off from a return perspective. It's just that strategic work that we all do as advisors is equally, if not more important than getting a slightly higher percentage with the money you have. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Is there? How do you break that perception to the general community, saying, "Look, everyone can get financial advice. You don't need to be." It's sort of like the gym scenario where I've got to get fit to go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's it's similar to that. Um, is there? Is that like what FAAA and other associations do? Try to educate the wider community that financial advice is for everyone.
Yep. That's exactly it. And I think it's all about breaking through that perspective and position that's, I think, m it may be there in certain areas, but not necessarily in others. And I think when we see a lot of advisors coming through, it's people that have been touched by financial advice in some way that has
Right.
enabled them to go, "Yes, I want to be an advisor."
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of all the, um, young professionals, that I've talked to over the last, however long. It's all because something's resonated with them. I've got one lady who I'm thinking of who she became an advisor because her parents had a financial advisor, and she saw the
Right.
benefit that that person had on her parents, so that encouraged her to seek out that as a career path. And I think it's those little things that um, we just go, people with children, and you want to show what we can do. This, from my perspective, ties in really thinking about things at a high level, really interesting way, but then also being able to give back and help someone on a genuine basis. And I think that's why I really love being in the advice spaces. You can really help change someone's world from a lot of strategic thinking,
Yeah.
and have that real positive outcome, as opposed to if someone didn't have that person in their corner helping them at whatever point in time with whatever's going on. So yeah,
Yeah. And I think it's probably important for getting young advisors into the industry to just let them know they don't need a master's in genetics and then do a law degree. They can go straight to finance. It's probably a lot simpler and easier.
100% right. Yeah, I would definitely, it looks good with the dots joined backwards, but not necessarily forwards, So,
Well, you've done a bit of a tour. You've learned a
yeah,
lot.
I've seen a lot of things, done a lot of things. Yeah, you're right. But ending up at this place from a destination perspective is pretty cool. So, take the
Yeah.
scenic route.
Now, just on that perception thing we were talking about
Yep.
a somewhat, I guess, maybe negative perception about the industry and the not giving back that's not sort of visible. Do you think that's why there's not a lot of women attracted to the industry?
So
Or there are other reasons?
oh, there are other reasons. Um, it's a good question, right? I in my practice have two female staff, and they're both mums. And what they have both said to me around their work and employment is really just about that flexibility piece.
Right.
One of them's on at 6 o'clock in the morning because that's when she is up and can do some work, but will finish at 4 and have other bits and pieces. And for her, it's all about when she can fit everything in. And in terms of us from a business perspective, that's working really well. We've still been able to do everything that we need to do. And I think potentially that's me looking at it from my viewpoint, but I think we do have a lot of um, and think about how to say this politically correctly but we do have a lot of, I guess, established practices out there that have been around for a long time, and so it's harder sometimes to bring in that kind of flexibility when um, the traditional 9 to 5 pre-COVID has
Yeah.
been there. I Yeah, it's a tough one. Um and it is somehow finding that balance between what's the priorities with from a business perspective to what a individual needs. Um
Mm.
and I also think sometimes it bring if we also look at the gender pay gap, all these things, generally in a husband and wife scenario, so to speak, the male in that relationship does earn more money. So from a financial sense, it does naturally lean towards someone taking out a little bit more time of their career to help raise kids and things like that. So I think
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that doesn't help with trying to encourage females into the profession. But I also think that what we need to do is really showcase the what we can do as women in terms of being able to help people, what skills we bring. It's not necessarily that technical expertise that we all think we should have before we go and do something. It's really that EQ perspective that I think females just naturally tend to have over men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
well, no, sorry, I was just about to say the last, I think 3 or 4 guests I've had, have all been women, and what comes through is a lot of what they talk about is that empathy side of the relationship of getting to know the client,
yep.
and really that's the starting point. You got to know your client inside out, back to front, absolutely everything. Um, if something happens, your advisor is the first person to call. Forget about anyone else. You call the advisor, and it's that relationship that they stress that this is the key in the figures and everything else, get the paraplanner. It's
But it really is. You can and this has always been something that I have stressed so much is you can learn the technical side of things. The technical stuff will come with experience and exposure. Yes, you can learn all these things in a textbook or doing courses, but it's not until you sit in front of a person that you really need to draw on your relationship piece and those relationship skills to really get to the heart of why is this person in front of you?
Yeah.
People don't generally come to an advisor going, okay, right, I want to make $1 million. Here you go. Uh, it's more about, okay, something's driven for that person or couple or someone to come to you wanting to do something. And it could, on the face value, be something as simple as that. But, what's driving that? What's behind that question or that statement? And that's where I think the intuition is really, really important to be able to get people to be really comfortable at talking about that.
Yeah.
And if you think about that as a skill set, women naturally have that because over centuries, that's what we've all developed unconsciously within society. And if you think about our societal kind of traditional roles, that's a remarkable skill set that we all bring to the table, and I think shouldn't be overlooked,
No.
and should be held in equal capacity in terms of requirement to technical skills. Like, not one's not better than the other. One you can just learn probably easier than the other, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it gets down to, well, if you don't get all the information from the client, you can't provide the best advice.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So it's a key part, I'd say. It's last episode we likened it to the medical relationship. If you
Yep.
don't tell your doctor everything, things aren't going to
That
go
could
great.
go really badly. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
yeah, that is you're so right because finances is it's a part of well-being, right?
yeah,
Medical well-being, whether that's physical, mental health, financial health, all of those things are all, you know, key parts to be able to be a person living a great life. And if you've got people in those respective corners that you can't talk to openly, then you're not going to have that. So
no,
yeah, you're right.
exactly.
It's a very good. Gosh, that got really serious for a moment. I was like, wow, yeah.
Now back to PFAN for a second.
Yes, yes,
Okay. Now, I was having a look on your website. You've got three types of partners:
yes,
organisational, which you've mentioned a few of those, and I guess they help out with spreading the word, helping out here and there, promoting you,
yep,
etc. You've got the advisors, and then individual donations.
yes.
Individual donor. I guess they're financial donors.
Correct.
Okay.
One thing that, it's like any organization, right? You need money to be able to do things. And one of the key parts that we're looking at doing is how do we make it easier for people to donate to us financially? And so one of our big plans for this year is to look at how we can make that um, more appropriate through charitable donations and so forth. So
Right.
um, the plan is the more everyone on our board, so the team there, all the advisors, everyone gives up their time for free. No one gets remunerated. And so our theory is if we can get more funds in, then we can build the team actually buy in that expertise, so to speak, to help people. That means we can actually then help more people,
Yeah.
and help serve more charities, more illnesses, because there are so many people being impacted by a range of things.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily want to limit ourselves to just those three.
Well, I mean, really, there'd be unlimited demand for your service.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Got to say,
there's with limited resources to fill that demand. So yeah.
You're
Yep.
exactly right. A week doesn't go by where we get an inquiry from a charity wanting to be part of our network and support some of their clients. So my conversation with people is I would love to say yes, but we also have to be mindful with what we're doing from the advisors as well. So
Yep.
um, trying to tackle all the world problems at in small steps.
Yep.
But yes, from a financial perspective, we all know that it goes a long way.
Yep. So the donation side, would that be if you had your wish out of the three channels, those partners you could grow, it'd be I guess the donations you'd be pointing at?
Uh, yes, at this point in time.
Yeah.
We wait, no, all of those three will revolve to be more important than the others. But yes, definitely from that financial donation at today's date, that, yes, would be the
Yep.
key thing. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and as you said, that just enables you to help more people.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Look, we've been going on for a while, so I'm just going to finish up. We did say between 30-40 minutes. We've blown that out of the water. But it's been great. We'll finish up with a question. Now, if PFAN were a TV show or a movie, what would it be and why?
So thank you, AI, for giving me this answer. And and I have to say, I was actually really quite happy with what AI came with me. I will just find it and I'll read it out.
Okay.
Because this is something I've literally just finished watching as well. So I'm actually I was like, that sounds a little bit too less random, but it works.
It's
So
not the federal budget coverage, is it?
it's a little bit more entertaining than that, I can tell you.
Okay.
AI said to me, if PFAN was as a show, it would be Ted Lasso.
Oh, okay.
Why? Just like Ted Lasso, PFAN feels grounded in kindness, integrity, and doing the right thing, even when it's not the easiest path. It's people first. It's not just about outcomes or results. It's about supporting the people involved, building trust, and lifting others up. Quietly powerful impact. The change may not be always loud or showy, but is meaningful and long lasting. Collaboration over ego, because everyone brings something to the table and success comes from a genuine teamwork rather than hierarchy and competition. And a bit of heart and humor along the way. There's warmth, relatability, humanity in how things get done. And so PFAN is like Ted Lasso, a good group of human beings doing important work, backing each other and making a real difference while keeping it grounded and genuine.
Oh, wow. Wow. Is that going to be your next LinkedIn post?
It should actually. What I will do is use that very quote for when this podcast goes out, and we can use it as the liner, right?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do
Yes.
that.
I'll email it through to you so we can make sure we get it right.
And I was thinking you're very generous, crediting that to AI. You could have said, "Look, just off the top of my head, Ted Lasso."
Ted Lasso, the quotes, blah blah. No, no. I'd like to. No.
It's not in your nature to do that.
No, exactly right. Yeah, I think that says it all in terms of being able to show that it's not.
Was that the lawyer side of you going, "Could I get away with that?"
Probably more this is how my mother taught me.
Right.
Bringing up and, yeah. Yes.
Okay, Nicola, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. It's lovely, and thank you so much for spending this time with me as well.
No problems. And look, anyone listening that wants to get involved with PFAN, the website, pro bono financial advice network.com.
.au, I think.
.au, sorry.
Yes. Or
Okay.
you can just Google us and I know we'll come up. So, or find us on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you'll come come across us.
Absolute. Fantastic. Well, I hope people do. Thank you again for coming on. And for everyone else, we'll see you next week on the podcast.
This episode is sponsored by My Brokers app, a white label app built specifically for financial advisors and wealth management professionals. If you want to know how you can have your own app exclusively for your business and your clients up and running by this time next week, visit mybrokers.app or download the free My Brokers demo app from your favorite app store.